Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the June 21st, 2012 Board of Adjustment meeting. Our first order of business is to receive the minutes of the June 7th, 2012 meeting.
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Register your vote. Minutes are approved. Continuous requests from staff.
We have none today. Yeah.
My light's not working. There we go. Thank you.
Do we have any continuous requests from the public? Hearing none, I would ask Kathy to read our first case.
Item number 1, case number 13555, request for use variance of White Operating Company for permit to drill an oil gas well and special exception to convert an existing oil gas well to a saltwater disposal well located at 1401 Florence Street.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Wayne Smith, on behalf of the applicant, White Operating Company. This is a case where we're requesting approval to convert an existing old oil and gas well to disposal purposes. White Operating has secured the Oklahoma Corporation Commission permission for operation as a disposal well. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have on this.
Been properly permitted before the OCC?
Yes, sir.
Have you received any protests from any of your neighbors?
None to my knowledge.
I'd move to approve the variance.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve. Register your vote. You are approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Item number 2, case number 13566, request of Thomas and Justice Davis for a variance to the minimum lot size located at 11624 Southeast 104th Street.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recuse on this one.
Thank you.
We took some pictures of our property. If you'd
Before
like.
we start, would you state your name and address for the record, please, into the microphone?
Justice and Thomas Davis, 11624 Southeast 104th,
Okay.
Oklahoma City.
Now just go ahead and speak to your application.
We're requesting a variance for the lot size. We have a little less than 10 acres. We have 2 homes on the acreage. We've provided some pictures of the property, surrounding properties. We're not asking to split the lot size into 2 tracts. We just want to leave the smaller home on the almost 10 acres. The property was acquired by our family almost 20 years ago. The second house is a much smaller house. It's a little under 1,000 square feet.
Is the second house, is it habitable? Is it electricity, water?
Yes, and it's been fully remodeled twice. It got hit by a tornado in 10, so it has all wood floors and tile floors, and yeah, it's fully functional.
And how long has that home been on that property?
At least since around the 60s. I don't have an exact date, but it was there when my husband's family bought it.
Now, one of the things that you also, in support of your application, say is that in the future you anticipate your father and stepmother relocating to the premises. How old are your parents?
It's actually my husband's parents. He's 66. He's a retired Oklahoma City policeman and U.S. Marshal. He had hip surgery and he didn't heal well. He's not very mobile. He has to have help walking now. And he's my husband's size, and his wife's about 5 foot, and she's about to have back surgery. So we're hoping to have the home for them through that recovery when they'll need extra help.
Okay. And also, you said that there will be no real change to the land, just on paper, so no additional roadways or anything like that?
No,
will be
we
necessary?
don't want to change anything at all. We just want to keep the little house. We lived in that home. We brought our kids home there. My husband's family bought it for him when he was in high school. They went in and totally gutted it, rebuilt it then. We lived there until we kind of outgrew it. And, so we built the new house on the property, and, we just want to be able to keep the house. We just feel like it'd be a horrible waste of resources to tear down it's a very nice house. It's just, it's a little under 1,000 square feet. It's a little 2-bedroom, 1-bath house.
Are you aware that there was a protest letter received by the board
Yes, sir.
from Ms. Hodgson? Do you know her?
Yes, she lives actually 2 doors down. If you look in our pictures, I'm sorry, let me grab my...
Let me just make this observation. Some of the points she raises really have to do with code enforcement. If as a neighbor, as a homeowner, you've got a concern over a neighbor that you think is not properly taken care of or has some code violations, that's not part of our consideration today. But I just, we advocate neighbors, being cordial and getting along with each other, and that if there are code enforcement issues like she's outlined, here, then they're not matters for us, but you do have recourse, call action line, and ask somebody to come out and check those things out, and that's the appropriate way. So I'm not asking you to address these issues. I just want to know, she's not here today, and I don't believe there's anybody here to speak in protest of your application.
Okay.
But, be a good neighbor to each other. If there are issues, code enforcement is your recourse.
All right.
And just so the record's clear, there's no plans or intent to sell this house?
Correct. No, we don't want to sell it. We don't want to add anything else to it. We aren't planning on adding on or building. We just want to keep the little house.
I'd move to approve the variance.
Well, I've got it is 7.75 acres?
Yes, sir.
And you're going to cut it into 2 equal lots?
I think yes, I believe so, just on paper. And I don't think they would be quite equal. I think what we figured out is, they'd be 3.9 and 3.1 acres would be the split.
Okay, well, it's going to be something over 2 acres then anyway, or something over 3.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Both over 3.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Register your vote. You are approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 3, case number 13575, request of Oklahoma Community Health Services for a variance to the maximum number of attached signs located at 1025 Straka Terrace.
Good afternoon. My name is Jim Snoddy. Office address is 2945 West Hefner Road. I've been asked to represent Variety Care on this matter. I was hired to do redevelopment and a development of a brand new building. We've done 3 projects for them in the last 12 months, and this is kind of the last project we're finishing up with them. Thank you for the opportunity. Shall I give a little bit of background?
Yes, please.
Good. Variety Care is a not-for-profit. They see approximately 50,000 patients per year. They have 7 locations around Oklahoma State, mainly in eastern Oklahoma, 3 or 4 locations in Oklahoma City proper. This particular location has about 31,000 square feet. The reason we need, several reasons we need additional signage is that the building is so large, and there's actually 2 main entrances. One is, they're both used 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, and then another one on the southwest corner is used Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, but also goes into 10 p.m. every night, and then it's opened on Saturdays. And so we refer to it as a night clinic. That's what they refer to it as, basically. Given that their population mix that they see is largely Hispanic and largely illiterate, signage is absolutely paramount. And so we need some help. Would like to beg for a variance on this. Obviously, when a patient comes, they're not feeling well. We don't feel that it would be in their benefit to not have signage at both locations because they'll have to walk from one end of the building to the other to see their provider. Since they are largely illiterate, every patient is called by the provider, by Variety Care, the night or the day before and told which entrance to specifically go in. So they'll be looking for Straka Terrace, which is the name of the location, and they'll be looking for east or west entrances. The west entrance, once again, being that night facility and after-hours medical location. As a developer, I knew we were going to have problems with the signage. They wanted a lot more signage. We talked them down from that already. We've also eliminated backlighting, so it's not a big neon deal out there. It's dark. It's not something that we're doing a retail business for. This is simply for the patient's convenience when they pull up there. This is zoned O2, and actually the northeast corner of the building is technically zoned C3. If the whole building was zoned C3, we wouldn't have to be here, is the way I understand it. So, we do have another alternative. The downside of that alternative, it'll take us 4 to 6 months to get it rezoned, to rezone the O2 to C3. It'll cost them attorney fees. Once again, it's a not-for-profit. I hate to see them burn through lawyer monies, and no harm, no foul with some of you lawyers up there. But we would like to make it a little bit simpler for them. My point is, though, it is O2 or C3 on some of the building. We are not asking for greater square footage of signage. The code allows us to put 150 square feet of signage on the building. We're only putting approximately 72, rounded up to 75. It's half of what code allows. The only issue is the number of units of signs that are up there on the building. Basically, I looked at the statutory standards which are in your package, and we have addressed, I think, given you enough information that you could hopefully vote in favor of Variety Care. Item number A, my response to that is that there is a largely Hispanic population that visits there, and it's difficult for them to read. Such conditions are peculiar. The peculiar conditions are there's 2 main entrances, and it's very important to help the patients find their locations. We don't believe that no neighbors have given us any notice. It's not lighted. We don't believe it'll be intrusive at all to the neighborhood. There's apartment complexes all around this location. There's hotels backing up to it. There's a Honda dealership with the big bright lights on it, so we don't think we're a nuisance to the neighborhood. We've removed one of all of our great corporate citizens who is Inasmuch Foundation, who's a major contributor to this location. They wanted their big name out there on the front. We've talked to them, and they've backed down on that. So we've whittled this request down a great deal, and I hope I don't have to whittle it down anymore. So I'm going to fall on my saber and ask for you all to approve that, or ask me questions and then approve it.
One thing I'd want to say, just for purpose of the record, I don't think it's a conflict. Mr. Snoddy and I did go to high school together, and I wanted to make everybody aware of that in case somebody felt differently. And I guess the question that I would have, if nobody's concerned about that, which I'm not, is the one thing, Mr. Snoddy, that jumped out at me was the entrance pertaining to the after-hour clinic.
Okay.
People assessed patients getting into the after-hour clinic.
Yes?
All right.
But what's the question, Mr. Stonecipher?
The question is, will this additional signage help with the after-hour clinic?
Absolutely. And that's part of the point, because we want to be able to have the call center call these patients, because so many of them are illiterate, so they can say West, they'll see the West entrance name on there, and they'll see Night Clinic on it.
Okay.
And it just helps them walk through the deal. Before we got involved, their signage was comprised of approximately 12 yard signs. Okay, it was a mess down there, And I think that was horribly unattractive. I'm surprised code enforcement didn't show up.
Is there any protesters? Make a motion to approve the variance.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the variance. Register your vote. You are approved.
Thank you very much for your consideration and assistance.
Thank you.
Item number 4, case number 13576, request of Bud Johnson for a variance to the required number of parking spaces and the minimum drive width and radius located at 2326 South Central Avenue.
I'm Bud Johnson, and that is the correct address, that high rent district there, 2326 South Central.
Want to speak to your application? Tell us what you want to do.
Yes, I want to use the same driveway that's there, the existing driveway that's there, and since it is private, it's not commercial or industrial, private for car parking, classic car storage, just about like the plans were read originally.
And Mr. Johnson, have you had an opportunity to do some additional research to see what it would cost? Have you had an opportunity to conduct additional research to see what it would cost you to bring this up to code?
No, not what it would cost, only what the original plan was. It's going to cost probably, for what I wanted, around $35,000. They put a nice metal building on it with one extended driveway straight into the building in there.
And this is solely for, as I understand it, storage of your vehicles?
Yeah.
Your collection, okay.
Yeah, the hail damage is killing me on my classic cars.
And as the application indicates, if the use changes, the requirement would also change. Is that correct?
Did y'all get one of these, didn't you?
We also had a letter of protest. Are you here to, sir, are you here to speak to this case? You're not signed up to speak, but if you're here and want to speak about this application, could I excuse you for a moment and let's let this gentleman speak for a moment? Give us your name and address and speak into the microphone, please. Go ahead, approach the microphone and give us your name and address for the record, please.
My name is James Burrell. I live at 935 North MacArthur in Oklahoma City.
And I would just remind other board members that we had a protest letter from Mr. Burrell in advance of the meeting, and you've got a handout here. And I think, you were here and you heard my comment on the earlier case that, when we're neighbors or, we coexist with each other, if there are issues like trash or like upkeep of a property and things like that, those are not matters for us, but those are code enforcement issues, and remind, that you as a citizen have the right to call those things in and expect the city, to take action and come take a look and see what's happening.
But I'm not discussing code issues. I'm discussing the fact that when you do the parking thing and he has no parking, where does it wind up? And I am going to get a tow order, and anything that's parked there is going to be towed, That's just simple as that, because it interferes with my customers and it interferes with other things. And I have also received citations from the city for the very parking which took up my time. I had to hire an attorney for that.
So your property is adjacent?
It is adjacent to that property.
And your concern is that his vehicles are parked in a place where it limits access?
His vehicles were illegally parked on the grass, or it was his renters at the time, but there was never no effort made to get rid of it, I had to go to court go to the inspection services several times, and I gave you a copy of the letter that I've written, or that the attorney, we did not, like I said, it never came down on us, but it cost me money and it cost me time.
Okay. And I think, what he's asking for now is he's asking to build a warehouse, a place to put his cars. It'll be for his use only. It's not a commercial access. And one thing that
But
we
it's
do have...
been that case before. One thing was submitted and another thing was given. It was submitted as a storage lot and it became a junkyard. So I'll give you my information, so whatever you do is...
All right. Thank you, sir, for your comments. Mr. Johnson? Mr. Johnson?
Yes, sir.
Sounds to me like he's got concerns over how you've taken care of this property, that it was approved to use for storage, and it just kind of turned into a place that, wasn't properly kept and things like that. And again, that's not really an issue for this board, but, be a good neighbor.
Well, the
Don't park...
gentleman is right in the, what I got, when he said it was a junky piece of property. It was.
Okay. Well, and you may have rented it out, but it's as your responsibility as the owner is to keep that place clean and in good shape, whether you're occupying it or whether you've rented it to somebody else.
You're right.
But specifically, the business before us now is you want a variance to the driveway width and the number of parking spaces. And I think one thing that we can consider is whether if we allow that use, it would be restricted to your particular use, and it wouldn't carry forward to if the property... That it would be confined to only this particular use. So as long as you stored your cars there and it was not a commercial property or used as a commercial property, it would be okay. But if the use changed, then everything else would come back into play. Driveway width, number of parking spaces.
That's my understanding.
Well, Mr. Chairman, that would be my motion.
I'll second.
Do you understand what we're getting ready to vote on, Mr. Johnson? Your use would be allowed for this warehouse and the storage of your personal cars. It is not to be used as a commercial enterprise for any other purpose other than the storage of your personal property. I have a motion and a second. Register your vote. You are approved, sir.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Our next order of business is the election of officers for the upcoming year, and we are a full board, and I would open it up for discussion.
Are we under the same rules here as the Planning Commission?
Yes, they're just open, chair and vice chair are both open for nomination.
Okay, but can the present chair and the co-chair have another term? That's what I'll move.
Before we vote, it would make sense to me as the chair, we've got a very capable vice chair who is willing to serve as chair, and I would like to afford him the opportunity, if it's all right with the other board members, and that we simply discuss who might be vice chair in this upcoming year, if it's all right, sir. So I would open the floor to discussion on who would be an appropriate candidate to consider for vice chair.
Who rotates seniority? I'm low.
In terms of seniority, I mean, Jim has been here the longest of any of us. Then I came, and then Mark came, and Bernard came, and then Mike, you came. So, Jim?
Well, I've already served I didn't serve a full term. I served almost a full term as chairman. So
I guess the question is, would you like to serve as vice chair?
I will serve as vice chair.
Okay.
Okay?
Fine with me.
That be acceptable to everybody?
That's a motion by you.
That's a motion that Mark Stonecipher be chairman and that Jim Allen be vice chair.
We have a motion and do I have a second? I do. Okay. Register your vote. All right. Congratulations to both of you gentlemen. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
And we are adjourned.